Alright, we've come to the biggest battle so far in Vermeil and Gold, both in the anime and in the manga. At least as of the recording of this video, because the manga has another amazing fight all lined up and ready to go in the next chapter. But moving on, the fight between Iolite and Alto is an interesting contest with far-reaching consequences within the story. And in this review, I want to go over what the anime has done to add to this fight and analyze if it actually is a good battle or not. Hi there everyone, Lars here from Camille's Harem, not just a podcast for novice writers by novice writers, but also a YouTube channel by novice writers for novice writers, because writing is an adventure, it's more fun with friends. And we're coming to the end of this season for Vermeil and Gold, and I'll be honest, I'm actively wondering if they're going to try shoehorning in a full ending to the story at this point, or if they're going to go all out for the climax for this particular arc, so that way even if the anime isn't renewed for a second season, at least they'll have gone out with a bang and everything will have a satisfying conclusion, which is honestly not a bad way to go. Because when writing any story, even if you have plenty of ideas and materials to continue the story, you want each installment in the grander series to be a strong standalone story on its own. Anyway, let's have a look at this battle. Already the anime added way more than what is in the manga. It's clear where the limited budget for this show went, and I am so happy that it went to these most recent episodes because they are drawing out all the good stuff, from the action to the settings to the voice acting to the music, everything. Iolite has infiltrated the Bronze Square exam to kidnap Vermeil and use her to further the Platinum Square's plans to destroy the world. This is the fight where we finally get to see Alto go beyond just his one-note crystal attacks and prove himself more than a beta boy when confronted with a hopeless situation. Now, when I break down a battle, there are two essential questions that most people tend to overlook when doing a fight analysis. Why is this fight happening? And two, what are its consequences? Because the battle is only halfway through at this point in the anime adaptation, we cannot answer the second question just yet. I know how it goes in the manga, but because the anime is already beginning to change up a lot of things from episode 9 to now, who knows exactly where they're going to go. So we do have a lot of material, however, to answer the first question. Why is this fight happening? And it also gives me a good chance to address these additions that the anime has included, which in my opinion really elevate the entire story thus far. This duel between Iolite and Alto has been brewing since Professor Obsidian's experiments. This bad teacher's main focus was to find ways to draw out and harness demonic powers that could be directly accessed and manipulated by a human without having to rely on a familiar's contract or technology to make that work. However, when his experiments failed so spectacularly, the Platinum Square was exposed, which means that they needed to step in to personally take action. Furthermore, Obsidian was supposed to find the demon at the school and turn Vermeil on over to the Platinum Square. Since he failed at everything he was supposed to do, the bored and anxious to get things going, Iolite steps in to make his move and snatch up Vermeil himself. As for Alto, by dealing with all of the problems created by Obsidian, he is growing as a person and as a mage. His battle with Obsidian and the events leading to Vermeil mortally wounding him have bound him even closer to his demonic familiar. Now, with the demon's heart, Alto can channel even more power through his, contact with Vermeil, and all these challenges have also gotten them to grow closer together. And that is something that I really enjoyed seeing expounded upon in episode 9. Not only do we get the manga scene where Alto and Vermeil stay up all night studying, but the show also added how Vermeil pulls Alto aside for more making out during the exams, which does not happen in the manga. This is anime original content, along with the student body president bringing up that Alto and Vermeil are in love and that they need to figure it out. And the anime also really drew out scenes that didn't take so long in the manga to stress that the relationship between these two have really progressed. So given all these things, I'm actually very in favor for the changes that the anime has made, because we needed to slow down a little and take some time to firmly establish where both Vermeil and Alto are with their feelings. And it was also used to not just give their relationship some time to settle, but this also allowed the showrunners to add in scenes that help to expand on the world building, the magical academies that are out there in the world, give some life to the students in the background, as well as learn a little bit more about the nature of magic, etc. Seriously, if you look back at it, Season 9 did a ton of heavy lifting and perfectly set up Episode 10 so that way this most recent episode could focus purely on the action. Now, when we look at the fight itself, I have to be honest, the battle setup is really simple, but it is effective. You don't need to go overboard like so many other anime and manga do to create these convoluted reasons and scenarios for the big bad and the hero to cross paths and cross swords. This showdown and its events are the natural consequences of everything that has happened thus far in the story. And that is great for the audience because it means that all the time that they've invested in the story actually means something, that nothing is going to waste. Now, the anime really enhanced the battle as well. Once Iolite makes his move and crushes the exam instructor's arm, everything just goes nuts. And I like how the anime adds the second Platinum Square member using her powers to create endless corridors so the other students and guards cannot come to Alto's rescue. Meanwhile, Iolite shows off his love for the game of chess by summoning a rook full of enough guns to be classified as a battleship. Alto, Colonel Phalanx, Vermeil, and the wounded instructor all jump into the action, and Iolite manhandles all of them. The dialogue from Iolite also helps to underscore in a lopsided battle that the heroes are indeed capable, it's just the fact that he's OP, which is then followed up with a full barrage that takes out everyone. As Iolite then snatches up Vermeil and is about to use a portal to escape, Alto takes off his Beta Boy mask once again and wields the powers granted to him by Vermeil to free her and then smash up Iolite's two rooks. He then moves within range, forcing the activation of Iolite's Knight, a sign that he is indeed an enemy worthy of this mage because he got close enough to harm him. For once, Iolite is taking notice of someone else. He's breezed through all of the exams as a kid, he's so powerful that he can even slay other members of the Platinum Square with impunity, and he's confident that not even a demon can touch him. And now then that a teenager just took out two of his rooks and forced out his knight, this slight shift in fortunes gets Iolite talking. And he reveals that the Platinum Square needs demons to destroy the world. And he's happy to kind of talk to someone who he now sees maybe just a little bit more as an equal or a little bit more as a challenge, which is something that Iolite has not experienced very often. And I just have to say, I love that Iolite acknowledges that it's cliche that the Platinum Square wants to destroy the world. But it also makes sense with everything that we know. The Platinum Square are gods in this world, and yet they are still bound by nations laws, and even the limitations of their own human nature and their understanding of magic. They've reached a ceiling and they want to shatter it. And because if you're someone who has dedicated yourself to breaking boundaries and being the best in your field, stagnation is one of the greatest existential fears and crises that you could ever experience. So that is kind of what the Platinum Square is going through. That is what they want to overcome. It's kind of the same warped understanding that motivated Sosuke Aizen in Bleach to overthrow everything, though the Platinum Square arguably is doing this without the style and fearsome charisma that Aizen had going for him. Now, Vermeil goes full beast mode and attacks Iolite when she sees all of this going down, with this conversation with Iolite endangering Alto. However, she is immediately imprisoned with a new variation of a spell that we saw Professor Obsidian use before, which, as we can also kind of see later in this episode, is a variation of the exact same spell that was used to seal Vermeil away in the book in the first place. And once Vermeil is sealed up again, one of the things that I really like that happens here in the anime as opposed to the manga is that Iolite then actually goes for the killing blow. Whereas in the manga, he pulls a very typical OP villain trope where he just says, Nah, I'm gonna give you a chance to live and grow stronger and fight me later because I'm bored. I always hate that because it's like, why? Why? It doesn't really make much sense to make such a dangerous gamble. So here in the anime, Iolite does the far more sensible thing and says, no, I want to complete my mission and destroy the world, and you're standing in my way, beta boy, so I'm gonna kill you. And this is where things actually get very interesting. The Mage of Beginnings activates her Gambit spell and intercedes, saving Alto. She then emerges from the sealing book and explains, much like she does later on in the manga, that Vermeil asked her hundreds of years ago to be sealed away. She wasn't sealed away against her will, she submitted to it. Alto will now have to make the choice that was foreshadowed earlier on. And will he choose justice or will he choose selfishness? Iolite again doesn't act like your typical anime antagonist, and he again goes for the kill because he's like, I see what you're doing, you're trying to buy some time right here. Nah, I'm not going to let this happen. But the Mage of Beginnings activates a spell of memories and halts the entire battle by warping space and time to give Alto a chance to learn about the real Vermeil, her past, and to now face his great consequential choice, which will be in episode 11. And that is where the battle has halted. Now, this isn't the most bombastic and amazing battle that I've ever watched or read, but it does work on many levels. The path to this battle is honestly clearly visible, and it makes sense within the story. As I said earlier, it's just following the natural consequences of character decisions. And Alto's power and Vermeil's actions are a reflection of their developing relationship. Iolite's motivations honestly make sense. The fight doesn't break the world building, it ticks all the correct boxes, and that makes it entertaining and engaging. You don't need to make your fight super huge. That's a massive misconception that each battle must somehow be bigger and badder than the one that came before. And I myself have definitely fallen into that trap. And it's a trap that where you find yourself no longer focusing on what makes the fight logical or entertaining within the confines of your story's canon, but instead you try to one-up yourself until your ambition far exceeds your capabilities and everything just starts falling apart. Rather than trying to make each battle bigger and better than the one that came before, think about what makes a fight actually work, and you focus on that within the confines of your story's canon. Alto versus Iolite is definitely, though, the climactic battle for this season, but it was well set up and has so far been well executed. And I'm not going to spill where any of this goes next for any anime-onlys out there, or what Alto's about to learn when it comes to Vermeil's past. But I will say this, if they do follow the manga from here, it will be sad, and it will be beautiful. And really, the fight at this point could go in any direction, which is kind of exciting. I'm sorry, I do have to just take a moment right here to kind of get in my digs and compare this, what I'm saying right here about this fight and this episode and this adaptation of Vermeil in Gold, to my recent videos about Amazon's Rings of Power. That series is an awful adaptation because the showrunners took a squat and dumped over all of Tolkien's lore. Only the names of the characters and the places and two events that are somewhat referenced are actually correct in any kind of way. The rest is original content and is poorly made, so it doesn't even elevate the established canon that we have. Whereas this anime adaptation of Vermeil in Gold stays very true to the manga's core story and most of its canon. It only deviates to better establish Vermeil's evil status as a demon, and then to add more in episode 9 to add to the world building, characterization, and give us more of Vermeil jumping Alto. I mean, let's be honest here, that's what most people are coming here for. All of which is actually respectful to the canon. So, changing the battle to include material from later in the manga doesn't actually disrespect the characters or the underlying causes and themes of the battle between Iolite and Alto. Now, the ending could be very different from the manga, starting from episode 11 on to episode 12. But thus far, all the changes and additions have complemented the original story, and that's what makes this seriously a fantastic adaptation. How can this spicy story of a beta boy and a lusty busty succubus actually be better than a story based on the legendary works of J.R.R. Tolkien? I just honestly don't get it. Anyway, getting back on topic here for the end, I've been loving everything that they've been doing with this anime so far. This battle has all the passion that it should have had, and you can tell that the animators and cast really got into it, superseding the limitations of the show's limited budget. I have honestly loved all of the additions that this anime has so far put in, and despite knowing the manga, I am now genuinely intrigued and excited for the last 2 episodes, because I really don't know what they could now do. They could change some things up in a really awesome way. So Vermeil Gold has been hitting it out of the park for me. I've really been enjoying it. So you can bet that I will have a video for the end of the series, or maybe a little bit earlier, depending on how episode 11 delivers. In the meantime, if you're a novice author looking for more writing advice, please check out our other videos here and our podcast episodes found on Podbean, iTunes, Google Play, Spotify, the works. We have writing exercises for you over at our Pinterest page, and of course, we would love for you to join our growing community of novice authors. Links for all of that and more are in the description below. And until the next video, y'all, keep your lusty busty succubi close and your insane god complex proteges closer, and choose.